Elon Goldenberg, now Middle East Security Director at the Center for a New American Security, also the former Chief of Staff to the U.S. Special Envoy for Israeli-Palestinian negotiations. Elon, the president today called for a de-escalation in the Middle East. Is that enough? What is the U.S.'s responsibility here to be more involved?
Sure. So thanks for having me. Look, the U.S. has a significant role to play because of our relationship with Israel and a close historic relationship, which gives us a lot of influence. But at the same time, we also have to be realistic about the fact that the U.S. doesn't communicate with one of the two major parties in the conflict, that being Hamas right now. And so we can't be the sole mediator because Hamas is a terrorist organization. We don't talk to them. So the Egyptians are doing that. You heard that on the news. And I think the U.S. role needs to be to support the Egyptians, to work closely with them, to work closely with the UN special representative who's also on the ground, to try to get to a ceasefire as quickly as possible and end the violence as quickly as possible.
Whenever there's a breakout of violence, the phrase ground war is something everyone is listening for. Is that a fair assessment of the situation tonight? And I wonder, this video that we're looking at of violence in the streets, does that make this any different than outbreaks in the past?
Sure. So there is this mixed reports actually coming in. There was some reporting from the Israeli Defense Forces that they had launched a ground operation, but now it sounds like that may not actually be the case and that they might have been misunderstood, that it was just artillery. I really hope that it's not a ground operation yet and that it stays not a ground operation, because once ground operations start deep into Gaza, that's when you have like fatality numbers go way, way up on both sides. And so I think we need to wait and see what the news reports there. I mean, part of the problem with the violence has been that these rockets from Hamas are hitting farther than they've ever hit before, and they're penetrating Israel's Iron Dome system more than they ever have before, because Hamas is using a new strategy of just launching a lot of them all at once and overwhelming the system. And so that then causes an Israeli response that's harsher as well. And so you have this back and forth going on. I will say the other thing is, what's most concerning to me, aside from this, is the violence between Israelis or Israeli Jews and Israeli Arabs, which is the first time we've seen that in 20 years going on inside Israeli cities. And that is a deeply problematic and disturbing new development that I think we have to watch.
The Jerusalem Post quoted Netanyahu tonight saying, I said that we will exact a very heavy price from Hamas. We are doing this and we will continue to do so. What is the political calculus right now for Netanyahu?
Well, I mean, I think he's just trying to look as tough as possible, but he's also a prime minister under siege, under indictment. And actually just today, there was supposed to be basically an alternative party forming that was going to move him out of power. Those negotiations, coalition negotiations on an alternative prime minister were ongoing and in a very delicate spot before this conflict started. And they now seem to have broken apart because of the conflict. So it may be that whether Netanyahu meant to or not, this conflict actually ends up rescuing his prime ministership and keeps him in office for a few more months.
Elon Goldenberg. Elon, thanks so much for that.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.